Marvel Rivals is out and Season 1 is upon us. With a player count peak of over 480,000 and keeping 90% of those players over the first month, I don't think it's going anywhere. Season 1 is releasing on January 10th at midnight, and as a lead up to the start of the Season 1 on January 20th, Marvel Rivals has revealed new characters, the Fantastic Four, Blade, 3 new maps, all taking place in the Vampire Ravaged New York, a new game mode Doom match that's kind of like a Battle Royale Halo style where the top 50% of players win, I think. I don't know, the explanation was kind of confusing. Along with a bunch of juicy, sweet lore and story details. And we got it all here. I've discovered some major hints to what's to come in the future seasons of Marvel Rivals. Seasons 2, 3, and 4. With all these new announcements, along with evidence directly from the devs and based on previous story developments that nobody's talking about, nobody is covering, I believe we are getting major signals that Marvel Rivals will release a PvE mode in the near future. Not only will I prove that this PvE mode is on its way, but that it's been in the plans from the very beginning. And the start of the Season 1 for Marvel Rivals is the first act that will develop into a story that will shatter the Marvel Rivals universe. And I have definitive proof, straight from the beautiful mouths of the devs. And I'll show you. But first, let's cover the details in the announcement and see what new lore, story details, revealed around the new characters, maps, and game mode. The Fantastic Four are coming to Marvel Rivals. Mr. Fantastic, The Thing, Invisible Woman, and Chris Evans. We find them pulling their forces together in a desperate fight against the Lord of Vampires and his horde. The moon has gone dark and the eternal night reigns. Dracula is out to play. Reed Richards and Susan Storm will be playable at the start of Season 1, releasing on January 10th at midnight. The Thing and Chris Evans will release halfway through Season 1 of Marvel Rivals. Each season is 3 months. We get a little nice story blurb as well, which I won't read here. Essentially, the heroes coming together to defeat Dracula and his hordes of night. Now, outside all the other evidence I have, I think the simple fact that Dracula and Doom are such prominent villains in the story, the only way this setup ends in a satisfying way is if we, the players, get to defeat these villains ourselves in a PvE type mode. And, along with that, the fact that Marvel Rivals has put an insane amount of effort, sweat, and passion into forming a deep and engaging story that spans across the multiverse. For Marvel Rivals, way better than anything else we've gotten in the MCU multiverse saga. I know you won't find the Marvel Rivals universe, the MRU for short, story in the little 2 paragraphs of lore bits on each character page. What if I were to tell you Marvel Rivals has published a book worth of lore and story depicting the plot and events of Marvel Rivals? Over 60,000 words worth of juicy story. In the story, we'll find Spider-Man, Johnny Storm, Blade all team up in a final boss battle against the terrible, infamous Dracula. Squirrel Girl claps cheeks, takes on Dracula all by herself. Takes on Dracula all by her little squirrel self and wins? Magic, Venom team up in fighting off hordes of demons in Limbo. Dr. Doom and Stephen Strange epic wizard battle. These are just some of the insane events you see play out in the Marvel Rivals story and nobody's talking about. And the stories go through a lot of effort to set up a well thought out, interconnected world and universe, as well as characters, setting up Dracula as the big bad, as well as greater villains on the horizon beyond Doom. They create this web of a story that nobody's talking about. Nobody's talking about the Marvel Rivals published lore storybooks released before Season 1. Nobody's touched on the intricate, insane stories of events going on in the Marvel Rivals story. This weaves together an epic that rivals the MCU. In fact, I can confidently say it's the multiverse saga the MCU wishes it could be. All coming together, weaving together, forming a book of sorts, depicting the entire story of Marvel Rivals Season 1, releasing on January 10th at midnight. Dracula is a prominent figure and main antagonist in these stories. And lo and behold, Season 1 is all about Dracula and his eternal night. And with this much time and care put into setting up these characters and villains and events, it seems obvious that all this will pay off in a PvE mode eventually, or a PvE-like mode. But before we dive deep into some of the more intriguing and honestly comic book-worthy story arcs in the Marvel Rivals book, and how the story is teasing new major in-game events and new modes, as well as give some insights on the future of the MCU because of the synergy created between the game and movies. Think of what would happen if Fallout 5 came out right around the time that the TV show aired. This is what Marvel Rivals intends to do with their seasons, events, and game modes. Now, I want to show you that proof I was talking about earlier before. At TGS, an interview with the gamer, the devs say from the quote, "Our plan when we got the IP was to make this game from the beginning. It was always quite firm. We are making a 6v6 hero team building game. We are making a PvP game. We are making a PvE game." beginning they intended to make a competitive PvE game. Well, so they didn't say they were definitely going to release a PvE mode, but they did say it was in the intention. If this doesn't fully convince you, let's dive into the story. We're going to take a look at a few different character stories and see how they interconnect, each building one on top of another, each progressing the character's story, but also progressing the overarching plot. Remember, the complete story spans across 33 different stories, each one a POV of a playable character, creating a book of sorts published by Marvel Rivals. Dr. Doom bursts into the Sanctum Sanctorum, and these two Grand Masters of the mystical arts have an epic battle. Demanding the Darkhold from Stephen Strange, Doom unleashes a wave of dark magic, throwing Dr. Doom onto the floor. They engage in an epic battle. Dr. Strange realizes Dr. Doom is powered up, moving faster and with more strength than normally expected. Strange recognizes the Khonshu spell and puts together Doom has received the blessing of Khonshu and now wields his power. Dr. Strange takes no time in unleashing a full powered spell and is able to subdue Doom. Dr. Strange releases Doom once he gives his word he will cease any violent action against Strange and the Sanctum Sanctorum. Doom tells a Hellhound that he's lucky he's already dead, or else Doom would smite him into oblivion. At the end of the story, Doom causes the time stream entanglement and banishes Dr. Strange's astral form to the mirror dimension. Of course, that leads us to the Scarlet Witch. Her story, name here. What we do here is we find Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, the Sorcerer Supreme of this universe. That's right, Scarlet Witch, the Sorcerer Supreme. Here we will continue Doctor Strange's story and start Wanda's. We find her deep in meditation, drifting through the astral plane, surrounded by a maelstrom of chaos energy. Her reality is intent on ripping itself apart, and she is the only thing standing in the way of its complete and utter destruction. She alone, through her chaos magic and deep meditation, is holding the strands of her reality together, holding the universe on her back. She alone. She can't remember how long she's been keeping her universe together, but she knows it's been eons. The Earth has long become a wasteland after a demon portal opened over Las Vegas. Very Sodom and Gomorrah view. Marvel Rivals. And Dracula teleported his castle over Central Park, but all that is gone now, Wanda thinks. But Wanda doesn't have time to regret the past. There was a whole universe she was trying to keep together. Besides, Earth has been a wasteland for a long time now, and those worlds happened ages ago. She had a job to focus on. While deep in meditation, Wanda hears something at the edge of her awareness. And then there it is again. Wanda. And again. Wanda. At first, she doesn't notice. She doesn't realize it. She hasn't had contact with any entity for millennia. And usually that entity ends up being some dark god or evil being, seeing her collapsed, weakened reality as an opportunity for power. Of course, it takes little effort for the Scarlet Witch, Sorcerer Supreme, to put them in their place and send them back to oblivion. Wanda, there it is again. We find that the voice is none other than Doctor Strange, the same one from the previous story. He seeks Wanda's help. He confirms Dr. Doom has trapped him in his astral self in the mirror dimension, and normally it would be quite a simple task for the Sorcerer Supreme to release himself from that plane. But due to the time stream entanglement, there are far too many versions of themselves from far too many realities bleeding together, and it's impossible to figure out which one is his true corporeal self. He needs Wanda's chaos magic to help him sort through the chaos of collapsing time. So why did Dr. Doom do all this? Why did he cause time stream entanglement? Why did he need the Darkhold? Dr. Strange hid the Darkhold in the astral plane. In an attempt to steal it, to acquire it, Doom caused the time stream entanglement to gain control of the Darkhold and allowed Dracula and vampires to invade the world and trap Dr. Strange in the mirror dimension. Strange needs her help get free of his mirror prison and reacquire the Darkhold. He reveals Khonshu has stolen it and plans to use a spell that would destroy every vampire on Earth, including the innocent turned. The right would also eliminate the countless innocent lives that have fallen under the vampire's lord's sway. Wanda finally agrees, only if, in return, Dr. Strange will help her save her universe. He agrees. We see here Wanda secretly plans to keep the Darkhold after they acquire it and use it to save her reality. She hopes Dr. Strange will understand, but if not, she's ready to do what the Scarlet Witch must do. The Darkhold arc is continued in the Iron Man story, where Iron Man, with the help of Reed and Moon Knight, fight off vampire horde. Moon Knight reveals the pages of the Darkhold were scattered across the astral plane when the other Wanda freed Dr. Strange. Yep, that's right, Wanda's from a completely different universe than the Marvel Rivals universe, or at least the present 2099 ones that we see. Marvel Rivals isn't just timelines collapsing together, it's complete different realities crashing together, forming a patchwork galaxy. What we're seeing here in Marvel Rivals is way more Secret Worlds Battle World than TVA Multiversal War. And this is crazy, it's revealed Iron Man and Reed of the present are teamed up with Black Panther from the future 2099. all working to make a device that will fix time stream, hopefully. And it gives off very Illuminati vibe. And if you know, you know. And this isn't just your normal earthly Wakanda Black Panther. This Black Panther reigns over the galactic empire of Wakanda. And in 2099, Wakanda has long left the earth for the stars, and through their journey, they've become a galactic superpower. So then, if we hop over to Black Panther's story, we discover Shuri's hard at work with Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic to fix the time stream. But Black Panther holds a dark secret. He knows Bast, the Panther goddess, hasn't been herself. She's different. She is corrupted. A great darkness infects her, possesses her, and yet he keeps it a secret. That is until colossal tendrils of ebony energy made of living abyss engulf the central hub of the galactic empire of Wakanda. That's right, it's KNULL. KNULL confirmed in the Marvel Rivals. KNULL invades the galactic empire of Wakanda. He enslaves Bast, and there's no hope. Are you starting to see the possibilities on how these stories can connect? How they interweave to create a greater and more fulfilling story? I mean, this stuff is crazy. That's just 4 stories and how they connect. And they're all stuff with lore and world building and character development. Wow, that's crazy. So then, you know, we're like, well, if KNULL's there, I bet Venom's got something to say about it. So we go to Venom's story. See if there's some KNULL references in there. See if he talks about our old lovable, grumpy grandpa god of the symbiotes. Seriously, KNULL is like a grumpy old grandpa. You know, the one that you don't want to wake up while he naps, or else he'll beat you to death with his all black metal cane. No, just me? Okay, dope. And by the end of the story, we find Venom is teamed up with Adam Warlock. Adam freaking Warlock, both battling KNULL symbiotes on the planet Clintar in an effort to defeat KNULL before he gains full power and releases himself from the prison planet Clintar, made of symbiotes, also referred to as Clintar. Clintar isn't a place. Clintar is a people, but also a place. So now we have both Dracula and KNULL confirmed as big bads in the story. We can see how the stories build on top of one another, and each has multiple references to other characters and events that lead you further on into the narrative. And each story gains more significance as you continue reading and creating this positive feedback, rewarding the reader each time they decide to read another story. You're not just engaging with the current character's story as you read a story, you're pushing forward previous plots established in other stories you've already engaged with. This is the multiverse saga we should have gotten in the MCU. This is the multiverse saga we deserve. I just showed you one path that you could take through these stories. Now these may seem like they're random, but they're not. No matter what direction you go, you will build on the story. Say we start with Iron Man, RDJ. It would make sense, right? He's the most popular character in the MCU. I'm coming over this video game and I see that he has his story. You know, if I'm gonna read one, it'll probably be his. And Iron Man's story is really good. It's like a story plot appetizer plate from Outback Steakhouse. You know, it's got a little bit of everything. It's got everything you need to know. First of all, you get the Dracula plot, Iron Man, Moon Knight, Mr. Fantastic, killing vampires, that's an issue. Dracula plot, check. We get the time stream entanglement caused by Doom, check. We get the Darkhold plot, check. We hear of Wanda saving Strange and the pages scatter of the Darkhold, check. Moon Knight's in there, check, check, check. We get Galactic Empire of Wakanda and Black Panther, check. We get Mr. Fantastic. And then at the end of Iron Man, we see Loki, the new king of Asgard, seemingly invading Earth. Check, 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 check. And so after reading Iron Man's story, you could pick either one of those stories to hop to, and in some way the story will be pushed forward, and then you get other hints at other things, and you go and read those, and then the story starts to fill out no matter where you are. I mean, it's freaking amazing. They put so much effort into this. So now you see how each story contains plots, threads, references, hints that occur directly from one story in a way, and that builds the story naturally as you read. This occurs across all 33 characters. Just check out the story map that I drew out. I hope you can see now how much effort Marvel Rivals is putting into this story. All stories become interconnected and feed into one another. And it's no easy feat to interweave 33 different stories together. You could put all these stories into a book, print it out, and it would be a complete story. Or at least act 1 of a complete story. Why do I say that? Because Marvel Rivals plans to release 2 more stories per character. That's right, 2 more. 2 and 3 of the Marvel Rivals story probably released during related in-game events. And all these stories are rife with intriguing foreshadowing for what's to come. First and foremost, the setup of KNULL. And KNULL either appears or his influence is heavily felt in most of these Act 1 stories, and it looks like Dracula is just an appetizer of a villain for the players to defeat. After Dracula, Doom is next, and then the KNULL event will build up to KNULL. There are even hints that Doom is aware of KNULL, and that his need to take control of the MRU is because he knows he's the only one that can save what's left of the universe, and that the only way they survive if Doom is in control. Classic Doom.
Classic Doom. That's a classic Doom.
Classic Doom. Classic. As far as the rollout, I could see the season 2 endgame event playing out the defeat of Dracula and his vampire horde. Maybe we get a PvE mode here, but I doubt it. The new mode will most likely be another twist on a pre-existing PvP mode. Maybe it will be some sort of execution mode, or maybe a dog tag kill mode from Call of Duty, where you have to grab the dog tag of the enemy you killed and get a point. Maybe you have to collect the fallen essence of an enemy character, which charges up a meter, and when fully charged gives a time buff to the whole team. I don't know. I'm sure whatever the devs come up with, it will be far better than that. I could see season 3 3 be the intro to Doom vs. Doom. In Act 2 of Marvel Rivals story, we'll probably see heroes take sides and duke it out for the sake of the universe. Here I think we could get our first PvE mode, probably a classic horde mode fighting off waves of Doombot. Season 4, one Doom will rise as the victor. This will release around the beginning of January 2026, and it'll probably show Doom the victor pursuing ultimate power. And we'll probably find the heroes of the MRU trying to stop Doom from attaining the ultimate power. The Season 4 release would line up perfectly with the release of Avengers Doomsday in May 2026, and this timing would match up perfectly. This timing would be similar to how they released the Fantastic Four before the movie Fantastic Four First Steps releases summer 2025. And if you look back at the original release dates of Doomsday and Fantastic Four, these dates line up even more perfectly. Then Season 5, we finally get KNULL. We get a PvE raid style mode, and we see Doom along with all the other heroes team up to defeat the God of the Void. I really think there's a lot they could do here. They could even release a mode that's a combination of PvP and PvE. Say you have 2 matches against another team, and Chauffeur or King of the Hill games. Then the third game, the winning team of the last 2 fight a PvE final boss raid style mission. I firmly believe they are planning to release a PvE mode. With the amount of effort they put into the story, and with 2 more stories on the way, I have to believe they will pay that off with PvE modes in the future. I mean, they didn't have to do this. You know, they didn't have to put this much work and effort into a story, writing all these stories. The 2 small paragraph blurbs that they've released for each character would have been enough. The amount of time and effort Marvel Rivals put into constructing such an immersive story reminds me of what Destiny does with their lore tabs. And for those OGs out there, once upon a time there were no lore tabs, and you had to go to a completely different website to get all the juicy lore bits. Shout out to My Name is Bife for being the true one. And the only way writing books worth of lore and story makes sense is if there exists a payoff in-game in the form of a PvE. Here's the thing, if they were never going to do a PvE mode, and it was just all going to be PvP, the stories would be about characters fighting teams of other characters. But they're not. None of them are. Never in one story do multiple heroes team up to fight a squad of other heroes. I think Marvel Rivals is just getting started, and they got a brisket in the smoker. To me, it just seems inevitable for a PvE mode to come out. That and the fact that this would put the final slam dunk on Overwatch sucks to suck. Marvel Rivals literally just introduced the amount of heroes that Overwatch took over a year to do. Epilogue. Hope you like this vid, and you know, if you were able to nerd out as much as I did over reading the MRU stories, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's all I want here. This is my first ever recording, editing, you know, doing all the things, video making in my life, so it's definitely not perfect, but I want to get better. You know, let me know what you like, let me know what you didn't like, let me know what worked, let me know what didn't work. Any constructive criticism is helpful. You know, you tell someone they suck, but you know, in a nice way, when I do it all the time. So don't be a butthole, or do, I don't know. I'm not your dad.
Or do you want it to be silly and goofy and just fun for people to play?
So the core game philosophy is we want to make each hero as fun as possible. That's always number one. Yeah. Like if it's not fun, then so once we find the fun for the hero, and we're gonna compare it with the current roster and what the relation is between those. Then we'll provide the balancing, and we'll do some play testing, and then we'll keep improving it.